Meet Call of Duty. Call of Duty likes to hang out with his buddies Arma and Battlefield at the pub, commenting on how awesome realism's ass is and the insane rack on tactics over there. The thing is, Call of Duty's in denial. He likes to act all realistic and serious, but in truth, Call of Duty is silly. Meet Offensive Combat. Offensive Combat is a lot like Call of Duty. He is also silly, only he is silly and proud. He hangs out at silly bars with Team Fortress 2, Serious Sam and the like. He goes to silly pride parades and he just loves being silly. In fact, he just wants to show Call of Duty just how great it is to be silly by bending him over a table, unzipping his pants wait, was there a point to all this? Call of Duty is gay or something? As my little intro there should have made clear, Offensive Combat is a first-person shooter in the vein of the Call of Duty games, but without taking itself too seriously. The gameplay is your standard military shooter affair with a bit of Quake tossed in. Players buy guns for their profile just like any other free-to-play shooter, but can also find super weapons on the maps, as well as power-ups such as double damage, extra speed and more. As far as gameplay goes, Offensive Combat doesn't really do anything new, but what it does do well. The overall balancing of weapons, while not perfect, is pretty good. The starter gun, for example, the Arbiter, is extremely effective. Buying new guns is more a matter of preference than getting better guns, and that's really the way it should be in a competitive first-person shooter. Sniper rifles, for example, do not feel overpowered, which is a rarity in the genre. They can insta-kill when scoring a headshot, but doing that on a moving target is a genuinely difficult task. Chest shots do damage and can easily take out a weakened opponent, but would take about 3 shots on a healthy target. Another piece of balancing I truly appreciate is that the melee weapons do not insta-kill unless attacking from behind. This avoids a typical scenario from the Call of Duty games, where you can empty half a clip into someone who hasn't landed a single successful shot on you, only to have them make a mad dash and stab you to death. The weapons are a mixture of guns based on real modern guns and sci-fi energy-based guns. However, the more science fiction guns do feel like a bit of a missed opportunity, considering their tracers still look like regular bullets, making them feel more like a reskin than a genuine science fiction weapon. Once purchased, guns can be upgraded with a host of mods. Different sights can be bought, different size clips, stocks, barrels, etc. Oddly, weapons are fairly cheap, being permanently purchased with only a few hours of gameplay worth of coins. However, the actual upgrades cost significantly more than the weapons themselves. None of the upgrades overpower the guns, as they affect things like clip size, range, accuracy, but never damage, and usually there's a downside to every upside, like making it take longer to equip the gun or aim down its sights. The shop also includes one-use consumables you can buy in bulk. These are somewhat similar to the killstreak rewards in Call of Duty, only they are used on demand and not as a reward. While they do threaten to unbalance the game, they are a bit too expensive to be used in every match, so you're likely to go many games before you notice someone use a consumable, if you even notice. The two most common consumables are the beacon, which allows you to track a single player until you kill him, and the UAV, which shows players on the radar. The beacon is more of a tool to get revenge than an actual overall advantage, as you are likely to save it for a player who pissed you off, and other players are still not tracked, so single-minded tunnel vision is hardly a good idea. The UAV is obviously useful in team games, but there are perks that counter it, so it does have its flaws. Speaking of perks, as you level up you get skill points similar to an RPG, and you can use them on 5 different skill trees, each one with different perks. Most of these are either improvements for your heads-up display, like seeing other players' name tags from a distance, or having grenades marked for you, or tools to make avoiding detection easier, like not showing up on the radar after you take a shot. Very few offer a genuine advantage in a firefight, although there is one where you take less damage from melee, and another where grenades don't explode on contact with you. But they are both at the same points in a skill tree, so it's either or. In the end, being a higher level does make the game a little easier, giving a certain advantage over a low-level player, but it never feels like someone is winning because of their level, as most won't actually affect the outcome of a firefight unless it's in progress. The aforementioned silliness shows up in the melee weapons. Your starting weapon is a wooden sword, and after that you can buy anything from a rubber chicken to a chunk of ham on a fork. Then there's the costumes. These include generic-looking soldier dude, references to other games like an obvious Tomb Raider-inspired woman or a Mass Effect-inspired science fiction suit, or a banana suit or a panda suit, and yes, even a troll face. Also, when scoring the killing shot on someone, you can teabag the corpse. Only teabagging is not just a matter of crouching on the body, it's an animated taunt that rewards you with extra experience in coins when successfully performed. These taunts can also be purchased and are pretty funny. There's a few classic dances like Hammer Time, as well as brand new fads such as Gangnam Style, and a true internet favourite like Peanut Butter Jelly Time. Of course, you don't have to dance on their corpses, you can just take a courteous bow or just call them a wanker. Speaking of wanking, you can shoot people in the dick.
Oh, dude, you shot him in the dick. Huh? That's not cool, Butters. You don't shoot a guy in the dick.
The level design is pretty good for the most part, with a nice variety in settings and maps that are a little bit corridor shooty, but open enough to allow for ambushes and other tactical options. The only real issue is that some of the maps are far too small for the player count and often result in one huge clusterfuck. Game modes are mostly standard fare. You have Deathmatch, Team Deathmatch, Capture the Flag, and Domination, also known as Point Capture. There's also a new mode called Annihilator, where one player becomes a superpowered cyborg who must fend off all other players who try to kill him, everyone taking it in turns to be the Annihilator. It's great fun, but there isn't really a whole lot to say about it, other than some of the maps need to be slightly better designed so as not to allow the Annihilator to bottleneck the opposition so easily. The community is a mixed bag. The game doesn't exactly encourage teamwork even in the objective-based modes, so you don't get a whole lot of useful communication. But there's some really nice people playing. Unfortunately, there's also the typical idiots you'd expect not only from a first-person shooter, but especially a free-to-play FPS game. The cash shop is surprisingly fair. All guns in the game can be permanently purchased with the in-game funds, and it does not take a lifetime to buy them. In fact, I did manage to buy 2 guns in a single weekend. Costumes are perhaps slightly less fair, but they don't actually affect the gameplay at all, and are obviously just cosmetic. Most of them can only be rented with in-game funds for a day, and do not come cheap, costing more than would be achievable in a day unless you're planning on committing the whole day to the game. However, considering the fact that you aren't constantly re-renting the guns every day, maybe spending so many coins on costumes isn't actually that bad. If, however, you want a truly customized character, you probably are better off putting some money into the game. Overall, offensive combat is great fun. Its gameplay is pretty standard, but very nicely balanced. And in an oversaturated market, such as the competitive first-person shooter, offensive combat really does earn its place through its character and personality. The silliness is more than a gimmick, it's embraced in every aspect of the game, and in no way causing detriment to the experience. In fact, it does enhance it. It's a mindless shooter that doesn't take a whole lot of brain power to play, but sometimes you just want to shoot people in the dick.